And yes, there is class tomorrow with Venice.
With who?
Venice.
Yeah,
Who's that?
she's primarily in our Nixa office. That's why you haven't seen her quite a bit, but.
Just remember to tell her that Ozark's better than Nixa.
I will. I'll tell her you said that.
It'll go over really well.
I'm not gonna be here tomorrow.
It'll
so
go over.
Good.
I can't.
Really
I've
well.
got two, I've
That's
got
funny.
kids
And I said
coming.
that as a Nixa person leaving, but notice she didn't argue with me. She didn't argue with me. I just
Well,
want
nobody wants to like
clear.
open an envelope. someone's a witch.
I get it,
That's disgusting.
I get it. Do you
Or
have
as
any
my
friends?
granddaughter would say, that's disgusting.
Disgusting.
You
That's
play
funny.
basketball.
Huh?
Were you a basketball player?
I was a cheerleader.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yes, because of my height. Really
Yes,
tall?
yeah, well, you're athletic.
Thank
You
you.
look
They
athletic.
tried to get me to play volleyball because I've been this height since 7th grade, but
Did you raise
cheerleading had my heart. Yep.
Oh.
These tall girls in cheerleading.
Where did you go to school at?
Gateville.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But I did mostly competitive cheerleading in Nixa.
At All Star.
Yes, at All Star. That's where I coach now. I started coaching this
Oh,
last summer
that's
again.
fun. When
Yeah.
did you graduate?
Wow.
Graduate what? High school?
Yeah,
2012.
okay.
Yeah.
So,
So you're coaching where?
It's a competitive cheerleading gym in Nixa
Oh, I
called
see.
like
Okay.
Nixa All Star. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I cheered at Missouri State for a couple of years and
Okay.
I really enjoyed that. It just really didn't pay. We got $300 a semester and our books were more than that and spent a lot of time and it's very unsafe.
It's
So,
great to see you move on to coaching.
yeah, I
because
like
all those
coaching.
years of training.
Right, it's gotta be
and
for something,
There
right?
you go.
I think. I don't know. I got a little brain damage from all of it, but I'm all right. I told someone that the other day and I guess her daughter's thinking about cheerleading. So she was like, don't tell me that. I was like, oh, sorry, but it's true. I'm okay. But yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, good to see
Thank
you.
you.
Have fun.
yeah. All right.
One guy.
Yeah,
What is her name?
Tori.
Well, that's Tori. Okay.
Yep. So today we will, maybe if this works, I don't know. See, she touched the stuff and now it's not working. There we go. Today we're gonna identify where and how to lead generate for buyers and sellers. Classify those leads by ability and motivation and qualify buyers and sellers. for
Where and
appointment.
how to what? You said.
Where and how to lead generate for buyers and sellers.
Okay.
So what questions about that might we have today?
Well, I wanna know, like, I have such good people person skills and I am really bad at figuring out ways to say something to the, to get them to turn them over, you know, because they might be thinking about buying something, they really want to buy it, but then like I don't have the skills or the idea of what to say because I'm just like, okay, well, you know, we'll wait till you're ready, you know?
Okay.
So to deal with objections, I guess. Because I talk to a lot of people every day.
So one of the things there, and I'm gonna write it here, I know in the back of your book, there are some things there, but scripts and script practicing is one of the most important things. And listening for those, you know, we've talked about just ways to overcome those objections. And we'll talk a little bit, I think today we'll kind of hit that because you may have
Well, I'm gonna
Willing-
wait for the interest rates to come down.
but when we talk about willing, ready and able buyers. So they may, which you've got to determine, and I'm jumping ahead, but are they not able to buy because of interest rates? Are they not willing to buy because of interest rates?
Not
And those are
willing, usually.
those are two different
But
questions.
honestly, the interest rates are down, and I guess I feel that way because 32 years ago, when we bought our first house, we paid 8% to my grandma
Mhm.
for the loan. And, hey, friend, and, I'm thinking, rates are between 5.5 and 6-ish right now. That seems like reasonable to me. When we refinanced, we were happy to get a 6%. And, I realize that we've gone through a couple of years of 2, 3, 4%, but I don't see that coming back.
It's not going to, but people don't realize that.
Well,
And
But
that's,
how do I back that up? Because I just know from the mark, it's not coming back.
so one of my favorite scripts there is if rates drop like that, we will see a spike in buyers, which will drive prices up. So you're really in a lot of ways better to buy at the current interest rates, assuming you're able to. I mean, that's really what that boils down to. Because if you wait till rates were to drop and prices soar, you're not really gaining anything.
Right, I saw something and I wish I knew where I saw it. I wish I had the graphic where if, like, some people wanted to buy a certain house at a certain interest rate and they decided to wait. Well, the interest rate maybe dropped 0.25%, but the house price went up. And so they ended up, like, overall, their whole years of buying ended up costing them more because they waited on the interest rate, which really didn't move much.
Oh, no, and really, we're in a place where we dropped with interest rates dropping from November to now, what they've done, buyers have 50% or $50,000 in additional buying power at a $200,000 deal. Jeff's got his hand up, so what do you got for us, Jeff? Did you mean to? Do you want me to?
Are you sure?
There, you're unmuted.
Okay, I was having trouble getting myself unmuted. I
Oh,
was
good.
the guy that I would go ahead and tell a person that if I'm wrong and rates do go down, there's always an opportunity at that point to refinance.
Yep.
Okay.
So that way you've covered both sides of the possibilities. And you've put them in a good position to go ahead and buy today. That's all.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I agree with that. That's the other thought is if they're willing to, take that plunge now, they're gonna be in a better.
Well, and I tell them the best time to buy a house is always now, because historically, houses have not dropped in value. They continue to go up unless your house is like in a cesspool neighborhood or something like that, then it could go down. But most of the time, houses continue to appreciate.
And I'll actually say that even if you're not in a great neighborhood, if you take care of your house and it's in good condition, it goes up and back. I mean, there obviously are.
Well, I have some friends in North Springfield and their neighborhood has been pretty good until just the last few months. It started to have, I don't know if they're homeless or just people going through dumpsters, making them feel unsafe at night around their house, and their house is cute. It's just off of Kansas and Atlantic. And they're like, I feel like looking at what is sold right around them in the last couple of months, they could get about 180 to 200 for their house, and then they could buy another house in that same price range and be able to keep their payment low like it is now and be in a place where their house can appreciate a lot more than that one will.
Right, could be.
So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've talked to him a little bit. We're just kind of talking about it now.
Right.
In this, finding the motivated, I would think that, no, I don't know what the percentage would be, but a good source for those that might be motivated to move, for a home would be your first home buyers, first-time home buyers who are probably living in a apartment or a rental house somewhere.
Yeah.
So accessing that information and connecting there with those that are leads already, or not leads, but contacts, would be a way to open up a field that you could move into to prospect
Right.
and qualify. Not all would qualify, but I'm sure, I don't know what the stats would be, but a certain amount of them would be qualified.
Mhm.
They just have not made a connection with anybody that can help them in the process.
Yes, that is absolutely true. Absolutely. Pop between these two. So this quote, this is another quote from Shift. Your number one job as a real estate agent is to find ways to get in a path of motivated buyers and sellers. The lead generation follow-up habits you have started in the first step to fulfilling Gary Keller, what Gary Keller says is the number one job. The second half of that quote contains a very important word, motivated. And when we follow the 80-20 rule of this KW6 personal perspectives, which if you haven't looked at those is very good. I know you guys talked about them, I think in day one. We focus our 20% on the motivated buyers and sellers. So when we start talking about, we've talked about it yesterday, like who to spend your time with, you want to make sure you're working with those motivated. And we're going to try and uncover today, how to qualify those leads, that we make sure that they're the ones ready to interact or transact. Rephrase that. So today we'll start with finding the motivated. That's our first step. If we find the motivated, when we talk about the example of the one thing, finding the motivated, some of these other things are gonna uncover themselves. If that's all we do. So when we're new to something, it can be easy to get caught up in the misunderstandings.
Misunderstandings.
Yeah, myth understandings.
Do you have a lisp?
Sometimes my brain is slower than my mouth.
No, we all.
They block our success. And we talked about that. I think you guys talked about that day one with limiting beliefs. And that's why myth understandings are unlimit your thinking and move forward. So when we talk about myth understandings with lead generation, when I first started, I was so focused on how to get myself in front of the people that were thinking real estate. And a lot of times we get so focused on how do we get to the point where we're spending money to buy leads? Could be getting realtor.com leads or online leads or billboards or whatever else it is, getting on the radio. We want, we hear and see some of these things and we think that that's where we have to get to find leads for business, or that's what I did. I shouldn't say it's what you guys are thinking as those that are just starting, but that's a part of our mindset. So the truth is that our lead generation for buyers and sellers doesn't have to cost a lot of money. There are, as I said another day, we're in a blessed industry, and that almost everyone that can fog a mirror needs a place to live. And there's still the overwhelming desire to own a house, you know, in our area. So what are some beliefs you currently hold about finding buyers and sellers?
Well, I don't know if I believe myths, but I feel like it's hard to find them. I don't know where to look or what to. I mean, almost everybody I know, I think knows what I'm doing. I had a referral from a friend of mine the other day, but he's not gonna qualify. Like we've tried to get him qualified and he needs a co-signer.
How long have you been doing this again, Sherry?
2 years.
Okay.
Here's the other thing though, my grandmother was a broker in Southern California for 60 years and I helped her with some of that on occasion. And then when she died, I had to sell all that property. So I worked with a realtor out there, but I learned a ton from her. So of course, that's been, you know, almost 20 years ago, but
I think one of my myth understandings is, I am too far behind on IT and digital knowledge to compete.
Yep. Makes sense.
It's changed in the last 20 years considerably.
Little bit, a little bit. Yeah, that's.
That's a hurdle I need to get over.
Yeah, yeah. And that could be a leverage point for you too. You know, when we talk about, you know, finding someone that to partner with or help with, you know, I mean, whether that's a transaction coordinator or, you know, something, there are ways to, you know, find someone that can help with that.
I still think you should talk to Onward about social media management.
Onward.
Yeah, they're the ones
Yeah.
upstairs.
Yeah,
you know,
they do my newsletter because.
that's cool. I think that I believe, like I live in Bolivar, it's kind of a small pond. I'm a little fish there and there's a bunch of big fish. And I feel like, you know, no one's gonna pick me because the big fish are there. And honestly, the one major brokerage that gets most of the business, I would use them too because I love them. But like, I feel like I'm not gonna get picked because like people that know both of us go with them.
Yeah. So it's interesting and I've listened to a word, you know, you guys said or we've used the term misunderstandings. And I may have misspoke when I said the question, but I want to read specifically what the question was, but we answered it, okay?
Okay.
So the question was, what are some beliefs you currently hold? Not, and misunderstandings are our beliefs. And if we believe it's hard and we believe that they're gonna choose somebody else, then we're not going to be able to overcome that. And that's part of that limiting belief, whatever it is. If we believe that technology is going to hold us back, it is going to hold us back. And I don't remember who said it, but I love it. But whether you believe you can or believe you can't, you're right.
Yes.
I think it was a president that said it,
I've heard that quote before.
yeah. So we have to look at, okay, what do we want to remove those limiting beliefs and realize that, you know, there are a lot of people, whether it's the big brokerage in town, that don't know anyone at that big brokerage. Even as you look at Bolivar is not it may not be a huge town, huge city, but it's not a small town either.
No, it's
There's
a
a-
county seat.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. And
Wealthy town too.
yeah,
Well, I mean, there's a hospital, the schools, the college, college is in trouble though, a lot of trouble. But,
what do you mean by trouble?
I
Like,
mean, like, the Missouri Baptist Convention came in and like, they have fired almost everybody that worked there. All of the people that I have known, except for one, have either retired, quit, or moved on to a new place because there's differing views between the Missouri Baptist Convention and what the educators there believe. And
So you know what that
it-
is?
It's a mess. It's a
No.
reset.
No.
There's an opportunity, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, it is.
That's what I just heard. You have to.
But the college enrollment is so far down that it's almost dying. And so like, I don't know what's gonna happen, but you're right, it is an opportunity.
That's interesting. 'cause-
However, this has been going on for about 3 or 4 years, so it was before, the big part of it was before I was licensed.
Yeah. That's interesting, because as someone from the outside, like in Ozark, it's considered a thriving university and enrollment's up. So that's interesting to hearing two different, you know, I mean, just,
Yeah.
but that's a, you know, I mean.
Most of the professors there go to my church and, you know, we just, one of their wives, and it's mostly theology, but they completely got rid of the philosophy department. It's gone.
Yeah.
And one of the wives of the theology professors is on our women's ministry team, and she's like, I don't know how much longer we can do this.
It's interesting.
It's a big problem.
Interesting. So anyways, we want to make sure not to limit what we believe, because anyone that we meet could choose to do business with us. I have done business with people that know other real estate agents. And it's really about showing your value proposition to them and having them know, you know, believe in you really, you know, because that's what they're doing. When it comes to real estate, they're trusting you to guide them through that process. And from that, so these statistics, National Association of Realtors collects the data every year on the buyers and sellers experience, and this is from the survey of buyers. So what do these numbers tell us about where to find potential buyers?
First figure.
Referrals. Referrals are a big.
First time buyers, referrals, the highest percent.
Yep, highest percent. There's some interesting things when I look at it, so that's, you know, when you look at referrals by far, if there's one thing, again, going to the one thing, if we did one thing and we focused all on referrals from people that we already know, trust, and like, and may already know, like, and trust us in some facet or another, that's the majority, you know, that's the majority of transactions, what's happening there. This is, you know, so this is, I'm interested in this, I guess that's all buyers, so that would make sense. You know, the average is obviously very low with first-time home buyer because they've not used them in the past on a transaction of any kind. Some people may be stating that because their parents used, you know, I sold their parents a house, you know, depending on how that is. So inquiring about a property online and on a website, so this might be your online lead sources, fucking 14% coming from that. And then visiting an open house is something we spend time with, and, you know, that's a, you know, that's a smaller percentage of the overall transactions. But there you're more looking at the number of people coming to the open house and how that really translates. So, more buyers obviously are finding their agents through referrals than from any other source. And then the other thing is down, really, you talk about whether it's inquiring about a property they saw online, for sale, open house signs, and an open house, those are all being leveraged through a listing. If you know, when you kind of look at that. what methods of lead generation and follow-up have we covered in Ignite that align with where buyers find their agents?
Open houses.
Mhm.
We talked about websites and online presence. We talked about referrals.
All the touches.
Mhm. So we've got cultivating referrals by using the Ford conversation. We've talked a little bit about that. How to capture leads from open houses. And using social media to find buyers through social media was in session 8. I guess you guys reviewed some social media, so something opportunity there. So now we're gonna take a look at sellers. So what jumps out at you for sellers? And if I need to, I can flip back one.
Do they mean to have all sellers in that
They
first
used
column?
the agent previously.
There's time, so-
Oh, yeah, I
Repeat.
assume that is, yeah.
Repeat business.
So repeat,
That's buyers, but the sellers had a big jump in repeat business.
did they? Repeat buyers is 41%, repeat sellers is 35%.
I'm talking about like list used agent previously on a
Oh,
transaction.
yes, sorry, I was looking at the wrong one.
That's okay.
Yeah,
I mean, that jumps up from a buyer to a seller.
yes, it does. So part of it, so these are the buyers, 47% referrals. And this is 39%, so it's a drop in just referrals. But using an agent previously from the transaction goes from 13 up to 29%. And then some of these down here get smaller. So we really, the vast majority, so you're talking about whether it's a past client or referral, you're talking almost 70% of transactions are done in these top two boxes.
Cultivate your sphere,
Yes,
friends and family, and past clients.
yes.
If you get to the rest, fine, but if you can't, don't sweat it. That's the way I'm seeing it.
If you were all in there, you're absolutely right. I mean, if you're 100% in, you end up, you should end up in the right position. So, so what follow-up tools from session 12 would you use to cultivate business from a repeat seller?
So what do they mean, repeat seller? They mean, because it seems almost the same as used agent previously for a transaction, that's a repeat seller, so what do they mean by a
Well,
repeat
So-
seller?
It's
not
a
necessarily.
it's a repeat client, because they could have bought and then they're going to sell.
So this is all sellers. This is how their percentage breaks down.
Sure.
So this would be somebody that's selling for the second time.
Whether with you or whether they
Yes.
used you before or not.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes,
So they're on their second or third home at this point.
yes.
Okay,
Yeah, that may be it, yeah.
all right, that helps me. So what was the question again?
What steps, would you use or what procedures, that we've discussed yesterday? Could you use to, what follow-up tools from session 12 would you use to cultivate business from a repeat seller?
I think you have to, use your DTD2 thing, the smart plan. Make sure that you're making those efforts to reach out and check on them and ask them if they're happy and
Sounds like they want to, us
So
to
what
answer
I-
about the touch plan.
What I hear you saying is 36 touch points.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what Jeff is saying.
That's what, you said, oh, yeah.
That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, that's where you were going with it for sure. So as you've been experiencing, Keller Williams has a defined model and system for everything you need to do in real estate. Likewise, KW has its own language like leads and contacts, which we've kind of defined yesterday. Opportunities is a wording command that we use to define your sales pipeline. It tracks your potential deals or transactions as they move through that pipeline. It's a best practice to put your A, B, and C potential clients into the opportunities pipeline in command just to track their progress. And this is a screenshot kind of what that is. I remember when command was first coming, one of the greatest, and I was an early adopter into command. And one thing I loved about command is the idea is if you're putting everything in there, and especially when you've got, depending on where clients are and who, because we all start to believe we're working with somebody and they're a client. If you track them all, you can start to see what your true conversion rates are. From the moment they say they want to be your client, at that point, and you start classifying them as an A, B, or C client. Now, how long, so if it's an A client, I probably got an A client under contract in 30 days. You know what I mean? Like that's or whatever that may be. A C client, you may sit there and be like, okay, they're, an average C clients, we're not transacting for, 9 to 15 months, whatever that is. But if you're not tracking it, you don't know that information. So utilizing command will help with that. What ahas do you guys have from that information?
Well, I mean, it's clear that we need to be like talking to our friends and family, asking them for referrals. You guys hear of anybody, please, send them my way, because I'm gonna take good care of them.
How, did they give you the year that, like, the source for this information? Do we know when this was generated?
Yeah, I think that was from 2021, so it's
Okay, relatively recent.
relatively
Because
recent.
I was thinking, especially through COVID, people turned online a
Yeah,
lot more than they had previously. But I do kind of get the impression that people, by and large, still prefer the personal touch. They still prefer working with people rather than doing everything online.
I believe so, and there's the trust factor that's developed. And I've had clients where we did everything online or remotely and it's harder to build that strong trust in the whole process. So. Absolutely. All right, so to me, this is one of the most powerful topics. So you guys have heard the ready, willing, and able, or ready, able, and willing in many contexts. In real estate, we think about that order a little different, and we want to say able, ready, and willing. And why do you think we start with able?
They're not able, there's no point.
Oh, let's just get to it. Let's not discuss it.
I'm direct, what can I say?
Yeah, I like it. Any other thoughts on that?
Qualified. I mean, able, obviously, something's been done that they, either they've qualified themselves. maybe through a bank or, you know, on the application side or something of that nature.
Yes, yes. So even though all leads and contacts have potential, they are not all going to close on a home in the next month. Some contacts may not be able to either buy or sell at this time. So there are other reasons. A potential buyer might need time to save money for a down payment or improve credit to get a mortgage. A seller might not be able to sell because they don't have the full rights to the property or have non-mortgage liens on the property. There are a lot of things that tie into that. So we start with Able so we can devote the right amount of time and resources for each potential client based on their needs and where they are. Remember, the first C in our Y4C 2Ts is customers always come first.
What is Y4C2T?
Look at the page before the table of contents.
Oh, okay, I missed that week and I haven't caught up yet because I was gone out of
So
town.
that is a core belief. Those are core beliefs of Keller Williams.
So it says it's under our belief system. If you look at the initial,
Oh, okay.
if you look at the first letters,
Uh-huh.
you see the WI, that's Y. Then there are 4 Cs. Then there are 2 Ts. And when you put the 2 Ts together with the E and the S, it makes 2 Ts. So that's when what they
Okay.
mean by Y4C 2 Ts.
Okay.
It's a
I've
summary
seen
of
this
that.
before. I
Yeah.
just didn't know that was the,
Yeah, that's how we say it,
What?
so.
I'm
yeah.
like, what are you talking about?
That's what they mean when they say that.
So the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, if you've not read it, also helps build some of the models. So this comes from that. Focus becomes increasingly possible in direct proportion to how clear you are about what you want, when you want it, and what you must do to get it. This quote doesn't just apply to us as agent, it applies to everyone. When buyers and sellers know what they want, when they want it, and what they need to do to get it, then our role as agents is clear. Help them find the property. So today we're gonna uncover how we're able to know when a contact is able, willing, and ready. So I found this very powerful in just a conversation we had, my wife and I had today. So she is not a goal-oriented necessarily person. And it can cause discouragement when you're not. So she is on a personal health journey.
Good for her.
And we talked about so she's had some great weeks and bad weeks, and today was, and so I have to somewhat help her see that vision. I'm like, it may not seem like much today, but think about when we go on vacation over the 4th of July, it will mean this. And she's like, thank you. She needs somewhat help casting that vision because she's not, and part of it, she says, you're just better at that than I am. I'm like, no, I just have more practice at it. There's different, I'm not really good at it. It's just, and sometimes it's easier to help somebody else than yourself.
I was gonna say, though, way to be supportive of your wife. Good job.
Hey, 22 years, it's not all been easy, but we learn. So, when we are determining the able, ready, and willingness of a potential client, we emphasize come from curiosity. Why do we stress this? Why do we stress come from curiosity?
Because you don't want to make assumptions.
Okay,
An open mind, I guess is what I mean.
yeah,
Gathering information.
yeah.
I mean, does this refer to their curiosity about whether they could, afford a house or whether they could, make a move? Is that what that's coming from?
No, they mean we are supposed to come from a place
Oh,
of curiosity.
we are. Oh, well, I would say wanting to learn about them and their needs is an important place.
That's, Jeff said that too. And really, we want to be asking questions. You know, we need to be learning and uncovering, you know, sometimes and sometimes listening to some specific things. So there's certain things that can be said that cause my hair to stand up in the back of my head. So I call you and I say, hey, I want to sell my house today. Can you come out so we can get this listed? You know, if you got that phone call, are you running out of this classroom? Let's be real. I'm not trying to I'm not playing a trick there on that part of it. Now, what if I said, I'm I'm ready to sell my house. I just got a divorce. Would you pick up on anything there? Would that cause you to pause? Or I have a house to sell. My dad just passed away.
I mean, I would be concerned first because that's me. I don't want to be the person who is like on top of them the very second that they've had a tragedy or a hard time in their life. I want to be a listening ear first.
But I'm calling you. So Sherry, you
you're
think
calling
that's,
me.
I'm calling you. I called you.
Oh.
You may know me from church. It doesn't matter.
Well, if you're calling me, I'm gonna first say, you know, I'm so sorry that you've been through that.
Fair enough.
Let's talk, let's sit down and have a meeting and see what your expectations are. And I know that I can help you.
Great, come on over. I want to list my house today.
Great. I'll be over. What time do you want me there?
1 o'clock.
Okay, I'll
Okay,
see you.
right,
I'll take in
so.
11 minutes, but I'll be.
Yeah. But, okay, so, and that's the way we hear these things and I've had some, I did get a call similar to this, not in those circumstances, but it's like I need to sell my house. And so I show up and the house smells like bleach and there's nothing in the house. It's kind of a weird guy in the north side of Springfield, you know, there was somebody murdered in there. I had a whole lot
Murder
of.
somebody in here.
Did I make a poor decision? Obviously, I'm still here, so it didn't end that bad, but it was an odd situation. But the thing is that we have to think through is if we ask them these questions, one, if you were to run out to go list that property right then, you may not know that the divorce isn't final. You know, it may have just been filed.
Right.
It may have been that the divorce is final, but did we, you know, are you ready to have that conversation that, did your ex-wife sign a,
Claim.
quit claim deed? What's that relationship like if you need to have that signed? You know, those things matter. What about if somebody just passed away yesterday or the last month?
You need a death certificate.
Did it, oh, I don't.
That can take a couple weeks.
I don't need the death certificate myself to sign, you know,
Right.
but is the house gonna have to go through probate? You know, I've seen houses that got listed, they weren't ready to go through probate, actually go under contract, and then it gets extended and extended and extended. So there are some questions and things that, those are some somewhat extreme circumstances. But if we're not coming from curiosity, we don't really know what it is. Or a call that I've had recently, they're like, hey, we want you to come. Did you get my message? I want to sell some land. Oh, great. I'd love to help you out. And so then there's something that he said something, I was a little concerned. I was like, what do you want for the land? And he told me what it was. And I was like, well, I'm not running out to, you know, I mean, I'm not, anyways, he wanted more than what it was worth. So anyways. So knowing, kind of asking some of those questions to help determine if they're and being curious about what that situation is, to know how you can help them the best is really what that boils down to. And understanding as you get prepared to be able to prepare a market analysis for them or whatever you're working on.
So I have a similar situation to that. I got called by a lady from Alaska. She's an agent up there in Anchorage. Has a friend that's aunt lived down here and has a cabin in Pittsburgh, Missouri that she needs to sell. Well, she's calling from Alaska asking about a cabin. So her idea of a cabin in Alaska is very different from a cabin in Pittsburgh, Missouri. A cabin in Pittsburgh, Missouri could be a dilapidated trailer. It could be, you know, a shack. And the lady gets out here having never seen it, and it's like 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, junk everywhere. The woman died in the house with all of her pets in there. Nobody found her for a week. And, you know, it's just awful. The stench is horrible. And then you know, I'm up there trying to help her because I want to be able to get it listed for her, find out that she died intestate. So there's no will. It has to go through probate. And so I'm like, this is like a long way. Like, it's going to sit here for a while. I mean, she's gonna be lucky to get $30,000. And I don't even know if she'll get it now because they've found a couple of other heirs that are closer that didn't even know her.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's a mess.
That is. It is. So as we start this curiosity, it will help us determine that kind of the first stage of that A, B, and C buyer or seller, you know, helping us to uncover really where they're gonna be at. So, and we've talked about this, classifying your opportunities. A little bit, this is a little more specific. So, convert possible business into profitable business. We covered how to convert leads to appointments. Then in session 12, we talked about nurturing relationships and covered staying in relationships with contacts who are not ready to transact. How do we know whether our potential client is ready to close for an appointment or close for a continued relationship? So how do you know if you're ready to close for an appointment or close just to continue the relationship?
I guess you ask for the appointment.
You can do it with asking for the appointment, yes. You may uncover that as you ask questions and being curious with them as you talk to them and discover that they're right now may not be, you know, as a so I met with Dana this morning. Okay. She's an agent on our team and she just wanted to, we need to have a conversation. She had some questions but for example, if you didn't know her and she's like, yeah, I'm wanting to list my house and get it sold. Would love to anyways. But her daughter's a senior. So does she really want to sell that today? Or does she want to wait until, you know, after May that she's gonna do that? So you're determining, you know, like she may not be ready for an appointment today, but she's in there for a continued relationship when it comes to that. When you use that able, willing, and ready, you know, framework, I guess, to classify potential buyers and sellers into the A, B, and C categories, it starts to help. So when we have someone who's able, ready, willing, and motivated to do business soon, those are A buyers and sellers.
Right.
Our number one goal here is to secure the appointment and close with the signed buyers or listing agreement. Our B buyers and sellers are either unable, not ready, or not willing right now. They may be motivated and something needs to happen first. Our goal with the B buyer seller is to follow up frequency and intensity to elicit that response and get them over whatever that hump is, right? If they're not, they're not willing because they're waiting until May for their child to graduate, or they're unable because they're waiting for a house to get through probate, or, you know what I mean? There are levels to this. C buyers and sellers have no immediate need to transact. These are perfect candidates for long-term nurturers in your 36 touch campaign that we talked about. So what ahas do we have from that?
I just feel like I'm reminded to get out of my own head and focus on them. Don't make assumptions, don't come with a predisposed plan. Just listen.
Very good.
Half the problem with our world now is people don't listen anymore.
I agree. I agree.
I think, you know, I like this classification system here. I think this helps me to put into perspective a few people I'm working with right now that are probably C people because they can't get qualified, but they want to. But I've had a group like that since I started doing this, but the people that were in that group have moved, some of them have moved up to A.
Yeah.
Because I've kept contact and I've asked them how they're doing and, you know, just late pays on your credit score is a bad deal.
Yeah, sure is. And that's a perfect example that the more, you're wanting to help people go from C to B to A. You know, what can you, and sometimes you can't help them with anything. You know what I mean? Like you may be out of that ability. Now, it could be could be things that they don't necessarily want to do either. For example, if you've got a buyer like that that's having some issues, there are some banks that offer some in-house loans.
Yes, I've done one of those before.
So what does that look like to get them, you know what I mean? Like they may have to put a little more down, or they may have to, they're at one time, AGCU had a program where if a house appraised for 10% more than the purchase price, they would loan 100% of the loan. So if if you're buying it for $100,000 and it would appraise for 110,000, they would fund the whole thing.
Which means you had 10 grand extra to put into furniture or whatever. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, you didn't have to put any money down, so
Oh,
you can
okay.
keep all it. You didn't have to put any money down. So,
Nice, okay.
yeah. From that side. So the one thing in some of those things that we talked about there is, I need to sell a house then too. So if you're not ready today, I need to sell one in June as well. I'm gonna need to sell a house next January if that's when you need to sell. So don't put too much pressure on, if you're not ready now, you don't have the, I don't need you. Because eventually you will need them. Or you want them to need you. So with the able, ready, willing framework in hand, we're almost ready to qualify potential buyers and sellers. What we need now are the questions and conversation starters that will help us determine who is able, ready, and willing. In this section, we're going to cover how to use the buyer lead sheet and pre-listing questionnaire as our qualification tools. In the last section, we started with the win-win of qualification. Our potential clients win because we provide them with the right value at the right time, and we win because we get to focus on our attention helping our clients who are ready to buy or sell. So based on what we covered in previous sessions about segmenting your database, what might be some additional advantages of qualifying leads and contacts?
Like, I mean, getting them, helping them get pre-approved for a home. Because, I mean, we've got to know that they can do that before we can help them find something.
Okay.
I looked at this buyer lead sheet. I've never filled anything like this out. Kind of a good idea.
Here's the question again. What are some advantages to who?
What are some additional advantages of qualifying leads and contacts?
To me? I mean, it tells me where I can use my time. Frees up my time from this person to move on to somebody who is ready.
Yep. So our B buyers often need a different message, such as how to save more for a down payment or information about changing interest rates. They could impact buying power, or maybe they need more lender options. Like our conversations with our B buyers are different than when you take our A buyers need to know what listings are available right now.
Dude, don't do that.
I know, it's hit me early today. I actually felt it walking down the stairs. Ah, come on, guy. Well, C buyers might be more interested in potential changes in their current neighborhood, like new restaurants. We can make our touches more valuable based on that database information and sharing that information. And then if we use the same buyer qualification process for all buyers, same seller qualification for all sellers, we can help ensure not that we're not in compliance. We're always in compliance with the fair housing regulations. And then the more using the sheet, like you said, you looked at it for the first time, and documenting their qualification systems, having checklists makes it easier to be consistent, and providing that same high quality service. There can also be, if there's ever questions about your service or actions, it can be a lifesaver. So here's the buyer lead sheet. Using the lead sheet to guide you through the qualification process, we've got an example. You guys have an example. It can also help with your script and make it very natural to get the information that you need. You may want to bounce around some, but asking these questions, going through that process, it will help clear a lot down the road in the transaction. The more diligent you are with this information and the buyer consultation up front, the more effective that you can be as a real estate agent. And
This is really helpful.
so if somebody wants to be my be a buyer, I'll role play with somebody.
Sure.
Okay. All right,
I'm in.
you're it?
Mhm.
Okay, I picked Dan last time, so you're it. Hi, Sherry, I'm excited to help you find your new home. I'd like to start with some questions to make sure I can give you a 5-star customer experience. Let's start with some basics. What's the best email and phone number to reach you at?
SherryBeersman@gmail.com, and phone number is 417-942-9459.
You said 9459?
Yes.
Thank you, perfect. Thank you for those. And what are the best times to be able to reach you?
I would say pretty much before noon. From between 8 and noon is a good time to get a hold of me.
Okay, perfect. That works really good. What, you're gonna answer no on this. Has another agent taken you out and shown you any properties?
Oh, I'm gonna answer no on that.
Yeah, okay, very good, thanks.
She answered yes.
So So you answer no, give me a second,
Okay.
let me address it. I'm excited to be the agent who takes you to see properties. Is there anyone else purchasing the home with you?
My husband is going to do it. I'm just kind of the one looking first.
Great, let's add their contact information too, so I can share listings with both of you. How about that? Okay. I want to help you find the home that fits your needs and the needs of anyone else who'll be living with you. Who'll be living in the home?
It's really just the two of us, but I have a college girl that's probably gonna live with us for the next year because she just isn't gonna be able to afford the dorm, and I told her she could.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. Well, we can find the right fit for you and your family based on that. So how long have you been looking for a home?
We really just started. I mean, you know,
Very good. That's great. I'm curious, why are you moving?
well, I feel like our current house just isn't really set up right, and there's nothing you can do to kind of remodel it to make it look right, so, and it's dark. I want something light and bright.
That is a great reason to be in the
And more
market.
open concept, because mine's kind of like a choppy house. It's kind of, it's an older home, so it gets all chopped up, and maybe somebody could remodel it, but I don't think I'm the person.
Okay, that makes a whole lot of sense. So I have a few more questions that'll help me understand your needs. Are you renting now or do you own?
No, we own.
You own, okay. Great. Do you need to sell your current home before you buy?
Yeah, we'll have to get a lender.
Awesome. Okay. Have you signed a listing agreement with an agent to sell your home?
No, we haven't done anything yet. We just thought we'd see if there's anything out there.
Right.
Great. Thank you.
Let me look at homes before I list my own.
That makes complete sense. Thank you for sharing. Are you, and you answered this. I was gonna ask you, you're gonna pay cash or getting a mortgage, so you want to talk to a mortgage. And you haven't talked to a mortgage lender
No,
yet?
the last time we used some money and she's moved, I don't even know where she is now. So I'm having to find somebody new.
Great. So you'd like a recommendation, a lender recommendation, and we can get you some information on that.
Well, yeah, if you know someone, that'd be great.
Absolutely. It's what we do all day, every day. So, do you know how much you're looking to put down?
Well, we figure we can at least put the 20% down with the sale of our house, but we might be able to put down more.
Perfect. Thank you for helping me get to know how you plan to buy. When we're looking at listing, what price are you comfortable with?
I don't really know. It's more the payment. Like, I don't know how much it's gonna cost me to buy something, and then if the payment is too much, I really wanna keep the payment around 25% of our income.
Perfect. Okay. So the more we get into talking with the lender will help us define more what you're looking at. So on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 meaning you must buy as quickly as possible and 1 meaning you're not sure you'll buy at all, how would you rate yourself?
Probably an 8 or a 9. We're serious buyers and sellers, but we just, started, so I don't really know.
Okay. When do you need to be in your new home?
I would like to be in it before summer.
Summer? Perfect. So I'm excited to help you buy a home and sell your home. In order to help you find the perfect home, all we need to do is set up an appointment so I can help you get your home in time. Which is a better day for you, tomorrow at 1 or Saturday morning?
Saturday morning, I work tomorrow, so
Great.
we'll be both home on Saturday.
Perfect. That is important that you'll both be there. So Saturday sounds great.
So do they advise giving them not just like an open, hey, when's it good for you, but giving them 2 options?
They do recommend 2 options, kind of honing in on your schedule, what would work a little bit. That's a good advice, giving them 2 choices.
Okay.
So, these questions do allow us to get to that, and she was kind and gave us the details that really painted the picture that they're ready to do something now if the right property comes available, right? So it does not, I mean, this script didn't go specifically into if they answered no, or answered yes, that another agent had shown them homes. My question there would be like, are you planning to work with them and have you signed a buyer's agency agreement with them?
Right, if they haven't signed anything, then I will still talk to them, but if they've signed something, I'm done.
Yeah, yeah, there's no reason to go there. And really for me, if they haven't signed it and they're adamant that that's who they think they're gonna use, then I'm done too.
Right.
So from that, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions or comments on that?
I like this.
Yeah.
So, but you use this in the specific situation that somebody has said, hey, I wanna go look at properties.
Yeah, so this could be a sign call. This could be, I mean, that's, this is somebody asking for information about houses or, or that maybe he's just saying, hey, I think we're ready to buy a house. You're gonna go through this somewhat before you meet with them. This is prior to meeting with them.
Okay.
So. But yes, definitely, I've seen, and I've had them before, I'm not, and I had them in my office and we don't use them as much, now, or I don't, but having them available in our, when you get sign calls can be, especially as you're learning what to ask, can be
Yes.
extremely.
Yeah, this looks really helpful.
Yeah. So now what I want you guys to do is role play that questionnaire. So take turns and you guys go through it, each one of you, I guess, since we got 3 in the room. They give you each a shot, so, or if you two wanna do it, and Richard, you want me to be your buyer? we can-
Fine with me.
I'll interview you.
Okay.
You already were on the other side.
Huh?
You were already on the
Yeah,
other
but
side.
she should do it again for you, so you can go through it.
Who's the buyer?
Yeah, I'll be the buyer.
They wanted other children's names.
Yeah,
I guess that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, lady, hit me up.
Okay, so you.
So,
Call to-
yes.
Okay.
I'm glad
I'm glad you
to
called.
have
Yeah,
gotten
absolutely.
from you. I just want to get a
So
little
to
bit of
help you out,
information
yeah,
from
and
you,
really,
so I can see how I
benefits you,
can
I need
help
to
you
get some
best.
information.
So I've got
Okay.
your name, your
Let's start with-
email, what's your current address?
Guy Calloway.
Me, getting over some
Okay,
credit.
what's your email
1384 Tilden Road.
It is
Missouri,
Guy
65656.
_Calloway at blah, blah, blah.
Okay,
Okay.
and,
And your current
so
address?
do you have,
Keep going.
Oh, okay.
4700 North 17th
do you,
Street.
have a spouse or someone who's, you're gonna buy
How's your
with?
phone?
Yeah, my husband, his name is Gene.
1, 2, 3,
Okay.
4, 5, 6, 7,
Do you
8,
have any
9.
kids at home
That's
still?
your primary phone?
Yeah, that,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
call, text,
So-
send carrier pigeons there, it all works.
Might need a
Gotcha,
bedroom for
okay.
her, but
Is there
That's
a
in
better
case
time
you
to
need
call
help with-
You know what,
Anybody
that's a
down
good
here?
idea, let me give you.
I'm usually,
And that way we have each
usually more
other's
free in the
because
mornings,
that would be
to
a lot
early
better.
afternoon.
Okay,
Agree.
and do you have
I
a family?
agree.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, great.
The other
Just
side's
as children's
cheaper,
names,
that
not
side's
like
just
that.
boring.
I think they're both great.
Has
I
it,
keep my
me ask
cards
you
for
just,
people in
you
here
know,
so that
upfront,
I know. who to
additional real
call.
estate
And
question?
I put it on
So,
my phone.
has an agent taken you out and shown you any?
Okay, so,
properties?
I
We
have your
not.
mobile number. I'm gonna need your husband's mobile number.
Mhm.
Is there anybody else you're buying a
So
home
would you
with?
rather me
Yeah,
call you
my
or
wife,
text you or
Um,
email?
We'll certainly, her opinion,
anything's
she'll
fine.
let her opinion be known.
Okay, so you
Okay.
check your email
Besides
pretty
your
often?
family,
do.
anybody else?
Okay, cause I don't
Okay.
check mine as often as
Nope.
I should, so if someone's trying to get in touch with me, they better text me.
We
do you
always
have a
pay
time of day
attention,
that
but
works for you? I
haven't,
don't wanna
just
catch your
kind of
work.
starting
Just,
over the last
evenings are
weekend,
not good for me, but any other time's fine.
thinking that
Okay.
it may be the right time.
Great, okay.
So have you been working with an agent?
Want a little more
I guess I have.
space.
Can't say I have.
Good reason.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right, well, that's
Okay,
good.
okay. Are you currently renting?
no,
So
we own.
it's just gonna be
Okay,
you and your
great.
husband living in the home and your college girl
coming to visit.
coming to visit.
Yeah, I think
So
we're, I
probably
think,
a guest
I think
or
we'll have to
two
sell. I
would be
don't think we
nice.
could
You don't
afford
have
to.
any elderly
Gotcha.
family you might be taking
Well, I'll
care
be
of.
able to help you out
No,
there.
no, sure.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
So what's
Um,
prompting you to move?
You know when
What-
your lease? Okay, never
Downsizing.
mind.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I did that
you
a
said
few
you
years
own
ago.
them.
Yeah.
It made all the
Okay.
difference.
I'm just-
Because I don't wanna claim
Yeah, it's,
it.
yeah, I get it. No, I get it.
Yeah, okay.
It's a lot. I had to get rid of a lot of
Have you
stuff, but
signed
it
a
was sure
listing
worth
agreement
it.
with anybody else?
To
on
sell
that?
them,
No.
So,
No,
so
you're-
obviously you own your house, and have you talked to somebody about
Is
selling it?
Financing, are you going to?
No, we're
You
just
paying
starting to take
cash?
it right now.
Or
Right,
getting
so
a mortgage?
Would you want me to
Um,
do
I think you
a?
do.
We'll get a
a
mortgage.
comparative market
I think we got
analysis
quite a
for
bit
you?
of equity in the house, but I
Yeah,
think
I'll give you
we'll have to
just
have
a
a
ballpark
mortgage.
idea of what your house is worth,
Mhm.
based
Um,
on
the
what is
process.
pending
I have
and is
not at this,
sold.
yeah, I haven't
and
talked
is
to a lender
listed
yet.
right
Would you like
now
me to
in your
put someone in
area.
contact with you?
That'd be
So
great.
I can work
Okay,
on
do
that
that.
for you. I'll have to make an
Um,
appointment to come out, but.
What price
So do you
range
need to sell this
right
house
now
before you buy
are
the
you
next?
thinking you're comfortable with?
Probably.
We're thinking probably
Most people
under
do
400,000. We
that,
don't think we want to go
you know,
above that.
Okay.
It's a big expense. But you haven't signed a listing agreement with anybody
No,
else?
no,
Okay.
literally just starting.
Okay, if you've done that,
Yeah,
I can't
absolutely.
work
We-
with
we
you.
might let
Just-
the kids
I
see
wanna
it
make
before we
sure
buy it, but
because
we're
of the
not sure.
ethics that we're cool.
Okay.
Sure.
On a
So,
scale of 1 to 10, with 10 meaning you
when would be a good
must buy
time
a
to get
home as
together
quickly
so
as
that we can
possible,
talk?
one
There,
meaning
I
you
have
are
some
not
time
sure
tomorrow
really.
afternoon, and I have some time Saturday morning.
Let's do Saturday morning, that sounds
Really
good.
buy
Okay,
anything.
what time is good?
That would be
About
good to
9?
sell. So
Can we make it
what's the
9:30?
urgency?
Yes, I'm a
I would
late
say
sleeper.
probably on a
I'm
scale of
night
1
owl.
to 10, maybe
I
a
just like
7.
to take my mornings easy.
I know, I feel that. So
And
are you going
do you have a
to,
timeframe
if
for
you
being
sell
in
your
your-
house, are you just gonna pay cash for it? I mean, if you're
I mean,
downsizing.
I would
you may
say
be able to
in,
do
you know,
that, I don't
three
know,
to
unless you have
6
plans
months,
for some of that
you know,
cash.
no major
Yeah, no,
rush,
I
but,
think that
you know, if
we probably talked
we
to them
found
and they're-
something
and
tomorrow
just
that we love,
evaluate
we'd,
all the
we'd buy,
options.
we'd move.
Okay, so if you, do you
Well, I'd
know
love to
them
help you buy a
or
house.
you've been pre-approved
Love to
already?
help you
No,
find a
have
perfect
not.
home. All you
Okay.
need to do is.
And you don't
want us to
know,
do a
you don't
selling
know who
appointment,
you would work
sit
with
down
for a
No.
lender?
together and go over
So
things.
if,
They'll take a look at what
I
you
have a
have.
couple of recommendations I can give you.
Discuss what you
They're
wanna
each
upgrade to.
good at
Okay.
something different, so depending
So-
on what you need, you know.
Does Monday work for
Um,
you?
Monday's
Let's see, so
perfect.
we're
How
gonna
about
have to
morning or
wait
afternoon? What's
to
best for
really
you?
kind of
let's
get
do-
an
let's see,
idea.
on
Do you
Monday,
know how much you're gonna spend on
let's
a,
do Monday.
on another home?
Maybe
oh,
150,
my wife's
200.
schedule. Let's do Monday afternoon at 3.
It's gonna be
Okay,
hard
3
to find you
o'clock?
something in that
Put it
price
down.
range that's
Hey,
livable.
thank
Yeah.
you. Anything,
I
any
mean,
other
we
questions?
don't-
before-
I
I'll
don't
do my
mind.
best.
No,
I don't
look
mind
forward
doing a
to-
little bit of
look forward to
work.
having a
I
conversation.
don't
Monday.
mind doing a
We'll
little
see you.
further out of town.
Sure,
See
a
that. If
fixer
they
is
were all that
always
easy, it'd be great.
a good buy if somebody knows how to do the work.
You do.
But if you're gonna have to
Memorize the
hire a bunch
script.
of people, it can get
Yeah, but
expensive
but
quick.
that is a
Um,
script and even
Okay,
and
so are
memorizing
you
it's
gonna be
important
like
by
a
the time you get the
conventional loan,
call when you're not
20%
with
down? Do
somebody.
you wanna
Right.
You may
get
not
an
go through
FHA?
every bit
No,
of
we'll go
that.
conventional.
Okay,
Although
FHA,
the
or
more
conventional rates
detailed
are
you are
about the
with
same
that,
as
the
FHA right now
better
if you
you'll
do a
be and you
15-year.
feel like more of a
Okay,
professional
so,
real estate
um,
agent than
right.
just an order taker.
Cool. Did we do this?
So does
Is there
your,
more?
I
No,
mean,
that's it.
we're talking
You got it.
about,
You got
you're
it.
buying a home
Cool.
with your
So that's very
husband, does
good.
he
Yeah.
like
And
wanna
allows
come
you to
with
be
you to
inquisitive
look, or does he
and
want
open
you to
them up and
look and
they'll-
then take him
And
back
some
to
of
the
those
ones you
questions,
like?
they'll open
Oh, a
up more
little bit of both,
information than
probably.
you could get if you were
Okay.
just trying
He's
to
a
look
pilot,
for
so he's
them.
not always
Yeah,
here.
I
so-
can go
Yeah, my
forward.
husband,
Yeah.
he would
Oh,
be
yeah.
like,
Incorporate
go
some
look,
Ford
take
in there.
me
Oh,
away.
yeah, yeah.
You know, Ford is for the ladies. Ford
So, how
for the
quickly
men.
are you looking to
Okay.
do this?
The S is sports.
There you go. I like it. I like
Tag that on the end.
I like it.
I mean, it could be. it
So
could
pretty
be-
quick.
Yeah, it could be, depending on how things start to come together.
Well, I would say the first step would be to list your house, because you're not gonna really know that you can buy a certain place until yours is sold. But in the next couple of months is good, and you're probably gonna have to do a few things to get yours ready,
Sure.
which I can help you with, because
Okay.
I have a sheet that I give my sellers and buyers that help them to understand what they need to do.
Awesome.
Okay, so, we are figuring 3 months or so to get a new home, and I think, if you want to work with me, I'd love to work with you.
Let's talk about that more when we meet on Saturday.
Okay, I'd love to meet your husband too, because
Okay.
I think that, if you're making decisions together, you want to both like the person that's representing you.
That makes sense. I
So,
like that.
okay, so we're gonna meet Saturday and 9:30.
Sounds good.
we'll see you then.
Thank you, Sherry. Now can I go take a nap?
Yes, you can.
That's what I did yesterday after class.
I mean, it's just really conversations. I think our conversation, if it was real, it wouldn't move that quickly.
Yeah, I bet that's true.
I think we would move a little bit slower because, you know,
I have a question to ask him, but as long as he's using the restroom, I'm gonna use the restroom.
I'm getting water. I run out of water so fast, so often. I think I was just telling Ann, I think that if we're actually talking on the phone to someone or sitting down with them and filling that out, I think we're gonna probably be slower at it because, you know, there's gonna be other conversation that pops up between
Oh, yeah,
questions.
absolutely. There'll be, and just the time of writing it down. I mean, it would be slower, yes.
Because
And
like,
more
I'm
intentional.
like boogieing through it and I mean, I'm making comments or whatever, but I don't know. It's part of building a relationship with people just to learn more about them.
Yeah, and we talked about it, making it natural.
Mhm.
So as you internalize that script, because there may be times where you don't have that sheet with you,
Right.
but you want to take down the information that they provide to you. I use the notes in my phone a lot.
I do
of
too.
times.
I use the notes in my phone all the time.
So.
I have
that's
so
all.
many notes in there right now, you wouldn't believe it.
I have two questions for you. One deals with this and one is a very random procedural question that can wait till later.
Okay, you guys shoot them. We're doing ahas, so.
Oh, okay. Well, the first one is this lead sheet thing. This is pretty much, you're sticking to this very basic information while you're doing this, because this is on the phone. Then at the meeting, the face-to-face meeting, that's when you're starting to ask the deeper questions, like, because the question here is, why are you moving? And we've been told at other times, I don't remember if it's this class or wherever else, they give you their general motivation and then you're supposed to say, okay, and what about that is important to you? And you're supposed to keep digging, but that's not here, right?
Yeah, no, this would be just general, you're just trying to help qualify, you know, what do I need to dig more into?
Okay.
You know, from that
Right.
side, you know, so like me saying, I said, Richard, 3 to 6 months, but if we found the perfect house, we might do it tomorrow. So I'm a 7, but I could be an 11, you know,
Okay.
and so, yeah, you're gonna dive into that more when you're in person, so.
Okay, all right, good enough.
And what about your procedure,
This is completely unrelated. So a friend of mine wants to get into photographing houses for listings. And so, I'm thinking about heading to some open houses this weekend. And I told her she could tag along with me. Do they let you take pictures inside? Or if I said, hey, I'm a new agent and this gal wants to learn how to take photos of rooms, would you mind awfully? Is that obnoxious to ask them if we could take a picture or two while we're in there? Not gonna use them for anything.
I mean, I think it'd be, I don't know that it's terrible. I kind of like the idea of it. I think getting, you know, one, in case the agent in there is not the listing agent, you may want to call the listing agent.
Just to be sure.
Yeah, and make sure, get some clarification, just in case. And, you know, all intents and purposes, they're not gonna use them anywhere, but what if they did use them somewhere else and there wasn't the approval and it had someone's personal property or you know, like,
Right, okay, that's fair.
yeah, so.
On the buyer lead sheet,
Mm-hmm.
does a person have to be a real estate agent to fill that out? And an assistant?
Oh, no, an assistant can fill that out.
What's that?
An assistant can fill that
Go
out.
down and answer all those questions.
I think so. I believe so. Any other ahas?
Just that's really helpful. I like that.
I like this form a lot. And I don't think there's anything wrong with like sitting down in person, filling it out together. Like, so that they can see that you're taking care of what they need and you're writing it down. Sometimes I forget things and I don't like when that happens. So.
So now we will. So at this point, we've talked about uncovering A, B, and C buyers. When you uncover a buyer who is not able, ready, or willing to buy right now, that indicates they are a future transaction, you need to stay in relationship with them. And at that point, you would want to use your touch plans to nurture that relationship. We'll learn more about working with A buyers in session 14, which I guess is tomorrow, Win the Buyer. So that's a fun class that she'll enjoy. So, and Denise that's teaching tomorrow is great. She actually at one point was a productivity coach for Keller Williams. So she's got lots of knowledge. So you'll enjoy working with Denise. So.
Nice.
So qualifying sellers, we qualify sellers with pre-listing questionnaire that helps us build relationship with the 6 connecting questions and classify our potential sellers as A, B, or C. Our pre-listing questionnaire will also help us create a pre-listing packet that wins the listing agreement by focusing on seller motivations.
Okay.
From that, so taking these steps and being intentional with it will help you do that. So similar to the buyer lead sheet, the pre-listing questionnaire helps us connect and qualify sellers. So I will, I'll need a volunteer for this, so I'm gonna pick on Richard since he
Go for it,
since
Richard.
he's the one that hasn't, right? So, hi, Richard. I'd like to take about 5 minutes of your time to ask some important questions that will help me provide you with the best service. Let's start by making sure I have your contact information, your correct contact information. Is 123456789 and richard@gmail.com the best way to reach you?
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. What's the address of the house you're selling?
3195 North Circle Lane,
Perfect.
Springfield.
Thank you. That is the first thing I need to start on your market analysis. I have just a few more questions,
Okay.
starting with, how'd you hear about me?
I heard, actually, it was online.
Oh, online?
Yeah,
Great,
Yeah.
great. So,
searching for realtors and your name popped up.
all right,
You
well.
come highly recommended by Keller Williams.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. So focus a bit more on you. Where are you planning to move to?
Well, I'd like to move to the south side of town,
South side of town? Okay,
Yeah.
great.
preferably in the Kickapoo School District.
Okay, great. What's motivating you there? Is it the school district?
Yes,
Yes,
Yeah.
okay,
yeah, my kids are getting ready to move into high school.
okay.
Yeah.
Great. How soon do you need to be there?
3 months.
3 months. Perfect. Thank you for sharing the details. If we sell your home in the next 30 days, will that pose a challenge for you or anyone in the household?
No, not really. We're pretty well ready to jump on it and get going, so.
Great. That's helpful to know. What would happen if your home did not sell?
Well, we could probably do what they call a bridge mortgage of some
Okay.
sorts.
Okay.
Not exactly, that's it, but with our current income, we could handle it.
Handle that?
Yeah.
Great. Thank you for helping me understand your situation. Tell me, do you have a number in mind you'd like to list your home for?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Okay, about 250.
Great.
And Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. One more question about the home. How much do you owe? How much do you own on the property? How much do you owe on the property?
We're down to about 100,000,
100,000.
150 equity.
Great, great. Well, I'll be sending you a packet of information. It'll go out tomorrow. You should have it Monday or Tuesday. Will you take a few minutes to review it before we meet?
Sure.
Great. Speaking of meeting, which is better for you? If you get in that probably Monday or Tuesday, next Thursday or Friday, morning or afternoon better?
Yeah, Thursday morning around 9 o'clock would be great.
Perfect. Do you have any questions for me before we meet?
No, I think what I saw about you on the website answered most of my questions. Sounds like you're very qualified to
Great,
take care of us, so,
great. Thank you.
Yeah.
And will all the decision makers be there?
yes.
Okay, great. I look forward to meeting with you Thursday morning and have a fantastic day.
Thank you, sir.
Question,
Uh-huh.
were you following word for word a script on there, or were you, based on your experience?
Yes, I was using a script. So you should have a script in the back of the book for
Well,
this.
just one of the things I noticed about the script then, and I wasn't sure if it was just you putting your little flair on it, was both times you were asking the questions, you would occasionally affirm the person or say thank you. It wasn't just question, 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 question. It was, okay, great, thanks for telling me that, or thanks for
Yes.
sharing that, or these details are really helpful, or whatever.
Yes, and that is conversational. We want to, you don't want to just be like a robot asking questions. You want to, and there'd be times with going through this when we weren't just role playing it, where you may digress that a little bit, where it's gonna provide some additional information. Actually, one of them, Richard started to say something else and I cut him off. And, in reality, I would have just let him continue, we would have figured that out, whatever it was, so. All right, okay, now it's your guys' turn. We'll role play this one.
Well, I need to ask you the question.
Yeah, you gotta ask me the questions now.
Oh, okay.
I should sit closer to you.
So you just called in?
Yeah, I just called in or we
You
set an
wanna ask
appointment
her, or do you
or
want
however,
me to
I mean, we're on the
Yeah,
phone now.
alright.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay,
so,
forget wake up.
so how are you doing?
Doing great,
What
yourself?
was your first name again?
My first name's Guy.
Sherry.
Guy, okay, so
It's
Guy,
so nice to talk to you this
so we're
afternoon.
talking about
If
this
it's okay
new
with you, I'd like to
property.
take just a
Yeah.
couple seconds and verify your information.
And so.
So I have your name as
Take down some information.
Sherry
just to-
Beersman,
Yeah.
and that's with two
Wanna make sure I have
E's.
your email address.
And
your
your
phone
email is
number,
this,
and
and
those are the
what
primary
home are
means
you
of,
thinking about
reaching
selling?
out to you.
Yeah.
It's
So
the
your
primary
email
phone number
address
that-
is.
Oh, okay, where's
Guy,
that located?
It's in Bolivar,
Guy
Missouri.
Calloway
Okay,
at
what's the street
kellerwilliams.com.
Yep.
Six two four North Claude Avenue.
Oh, okay, great.
Yep.
Okay.
And is there
And
more
is
than
that
one
your
zip
home
code
phone
there,
or
or is?
mobile phone?
just-
No,
That's
it's
my
all
home,
6
my
extensions,
mobile
1
phone,
key.
only
Okay.
codes.
And I've got your home phone listed
And-
here and your cell phone. Do you have a preference
So-
which we call?
My cell, because I
How did
don't,
you, how'd you hear
that,
about?
we don't even answer.
Right, okay,
Actually,
okay, good enough.
somebody in your.
Can I take just a few
somebody
minutes
you
to ask
helped
you some
before,
questions to prepare for our meeting?
Who is that? Mary
Yeah.
Smith.
So how did you
Oh,
hear about me?
Yeah, she
Well,
is a
I was
friend
actually
of a
talking to a friend of mine
friend
and
anyways, and my wife ran into her and
recommended you and said
said,
that you did a
and
good
we were
job
talking
for
about
them.
possibly
Oh, who was
selling and said
that?
that we should
Hi,
reach out to
Cindy.
you.
Yeah.
Do you remember
Oh,
Cindy?
I think
I
actually
do.
she
She's a
did.
sweetheart.
She's a really good friend.
I'll have to tell her thank you. That's great. Oh, so where do you plan to
Your
move
wife
to?
connected to
Well, we
education?
wanna
She
stay in
is,
Cool.
she is.
Okay, that's a big job. Okay, so
Oh,
where are you hoping to move to?
so you don't have any
We're
necessary
wanting to
preference, it's more about the house
Stay in
itself.
Ozark.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
when we
No,
move.
we
Good
don't wanna
enough.
be in the country, we wanna be in.
What's
the town.
motivating
Okay,
you here?
all right, that's
to
fair.
make this change?
So, we can get into a
we-
little more
my
detail
wife
about
doesn't
that
love
at
the house
at
we
our
live in.
meeting. I
Okay.
just wanted to
So
clarify your
you could,
timeline, so.
Take care of that as a.
How
Yeah,
soon do
that's
you
a
wanna
good
be out of
husband.
this
That's-
house?
that's
and
a
into
great-
different home?
Happy wife, happy
Well,
life.
We're ready.
Oh,
So how
okay.
soon do you wanna do
Okay.
this?
I would say within the next
So when you
several
say as soon as
months.
possible, some people
Okay.
mean different things, so let me
6 months?
ask you this question.
Or
If
less,
we
I think,
were to
I don't
actually
know
get your
that,
home
probably
sold
before
within
summer,
the next
maybe
30
better.
days,
'Cause I don't
is
know
that
I
too
wanna
soon?
move
Is-
over
would
the
that be
summer.
a
No, that would be perfect.
Oh,
If you
okay,
didn't
great
get
to
the
know,
home
great to know,
sold in
thanks.
6 months, would that create
What
some
would
sort of
happen though if the home
difficulty?
didn't sell?
you know, if we didn't
Well,
sell
I
it,
guess we
we'd
just have to hang out until
probably
it
wait
does.
until we sold it. We,
Okay.
You
we've
know, we've
discussed
gotta
keeping
have
it
our
as a rental.
equity
It
out
could
of
be a
this to
good
be able
one, so we
to
could,
buy the next
we might
place,
explore
so
that.
Right.
but
we're
I
hoping
don't
to
know.
sink a bunch of our
Yeah.
equity into the next
Um,
place,
So you're
so.
looking to get out of your.
That makes sense to me. I like it.
What-
All
what-
right,
what do you
well,
wanna list it
do you
Oh,
have
yeah, yeah.
a price in mind that you wanna
So
be listing your
I
home
think
for?
it's
Well,
worth around
I
300,000.
I've been looking
Okay.
You know,
around at
is
houses
kind
that
of what I
have
guess
sold
based
near
on
me.
what I've seen. But,
How long
So
you been
I
there?
don't know, we're thinking
we've
about.
been
300,000,
there,
but we don't
2
really know
years.
for sure.
Okay,
2 years,
well,
so
and
yeah.
that sounds
So what kind of
reasonable off the
equity
top of my
do you
head,
have
but
to
tell
do
you what,
that?
when I arrive at the meeting.
Um,
I'll have
What do you
some
owe-
comparables
what do you
that we
owe
can
on
take
it?
a
What do
look
we
at.
owe on it? Yeah,
So
so
that
we
we
owe
know for sure
about
if that's
200
That's
on
a
it.
good idea, or if we need to
And
find a
so
different price range.
we've got, you know, roughly,
Um,
I guess, in that 100,000.
How much do you owe on the property, if you don't mind my saying?
It's paid off.
Well, I have a
Oh,
pretty,
great, good news.
listing appointment
Okay.
packet that I can
So
send
I'm gonna be
to you.
sending you a
Okay.
packet of
Okay.
information,
Yeah.
and it would be
And
super
then,
helpful if you
you'll
could
have it
review
by
it
the time we
before
get
we
there.
meet,
So-
that'll save both of
Do
our.
you have any
time.
other questions?
Do you have any
before we
questions
meet?
that you want me to
And
be
let me
prepared
see,
to
we're gonna
answer?
meet, what date did we set? For
Well,
that
I
meeting?
guess
Was it
like,
Monday at 9:30 in the
can
morning?
Yeah, Monday, 9:30.
like,
Okay.
use
Yeah.
two
Well, see you then.
realtors? Do
Any other
do I have,
questions before
I
let
mean,
you
is
go?
that
Nope, that's it.
I do
something,
have one
do I
question
use
for you.
one to
Oh, yeah.
sell my
So,
house and one to
Are you
buy
a
the
Chiefs
next
fan?
one? Or can you help me with both?
Sorry, I
ends?
can't make the appointment.
I'll be a
That's
Chiefs,
good.
I'll be a Chiefs fan for the Super Bowl.
I do.
Well,
Selling
I'm gonna wait till you
and-
answer and
I'm
say,
the
yeah,
kind of person
I'm one of
that I
those
just don't
fans.
like a
Yeah,
lot of
I
change.
I love it.
And I don't like
love
trying
it.
to find
I love
somebody
it.
else I
Very
can
good.
trust.
Very good.
So if you can do both, I'd rather
The
have you
appointment
do
taken at the
both.
beginning. but I
Yeah,
thought-
certainly, I would love to do that.
Probably, I
When
didn't
we
know if it
meet,
was gonna
we
come
can
up
go
later
over
on.
what
Yeah,
your needs
so I
are
didn't-
for what you're looking
And there's,
for.
in the back of
Um,
it, there's the
and
script that I
We
read
can
through
begin both
too, which gives
processes
some,
at the same time. That would be
some
lovely.
kinda
Awesome.
ways to
My
ask the
husband's gonna
question
be so
instead of just.
happy.
Will he be
Yeah.
there and
Which I-
anybody else?
Yeah,
who's
he'll
a
be
decision
there.
maker? Okay,
So-
great.
Cool.
So,
There.
Yeah,
should take between 45 minutes and an hour, if that works for you.
No worries at all.
And I think that I've got you down at 9:30 on Saturday, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, I look forward to seeing you then. I'll get all this information ready and you be thinking up more questions.
What's gonna be in the packet?
Oh, I'll bring those comparables we talked about. I'll bring.
Oh, you said you were gonna send me a packet. so I'm like-
Send. It
I'm-
does say that.
I'm thinking, what are you gonna send me?
That,
like-
it does. It does say that, so we need to ask him that.
Especially if we're meeting in 2 days, I'm not gonna get it yet,
Right?
unless
Well,
you
unless I email it.
email it to
It
me.
says we're gonna be sending a packet of information. What does that mean?
Number 9.
so there is a pre-listing packet, it could be seller's disclosures and some additional information, I think
Oh,
yeah, I think we'll get into it at.
But those sellers disclosures, we send over email if we can.
maybe that's what.
But you could do that, so I actually do most of my seller's disclosures,
I do too.
I like to do them by hand. I
Oh,
have them
really?
do them by hand, yeah.
I do
bring-
them by
bring that
hand.
To them, and and I'll sign a lot of the other stuff electronically sometimes, I mean, it depends, there's some stuff, if they're selling their house for the first time, a lot of times I want to go through the listing, agreement and all the paperwork in by hand.
Really?
I never
Well, that
do.
makes me feel better.
Yeah, no, I'm big on, and especially first time home buyers. I always try to meet them to go to sign everything in person. Contract, yeah,
Well, I will print stuff out and take it with me, but I basically go through the form with them so that they understand.
yeah,
And then I say, I'm gonna send this to you in an electronic format.
yeah,
So just because that is a lot of extra work.
yeah, it can be. I mean, it all depends on how how you do it. It's
And,
just,
and especially like younger people, they don't want paper anymore. They want to do it online.
yeah,
Older people, they want the paper.
You just take one copy of the contract.
You'd have to
Yeah.
take two because you have to give them one right away. Right? So wouldn't you have to take two, fill out two,
Mhm.
sign two, and leave one with them?
I don't. That's
Okay,
the
now,
first-
I'm fresh out of licensing class, and that was a big deal that you had to give the person who signed it a copy
I'm not
immediately.
right, yeah, so that would make sense. That's
Do you copy it and email it to them? A copy?
Yeah, you can
a lot of
copy
times
it
I will
and
get them a
email it to
copy of
them.
it, yes, but, I don't print out two.
Or you could copy it and mail it to them too, or.
Well,
come back
they
on.
were like, you have to immediately upon signing, you have to give it to them.
Yeah, and they're getting you ready for the test.
Well, sure, but they don't make stuff up
Yeah,
either.
that could be, that's something to consider, but yeah,
Which is why I was thinking DocuSign makes sense.
yeah, I mean, DocuSign is a lot easier in a lot of ways, but I do love to go through it with them in person because a lot of people will just sign and not really know what they're signing, and then I can explain why things are, one, I'm setting some expectations.
I
So
like
part of that-
Sherry's idea that you take the copy and go through it and
Yeah.
then say, okay, but this exact same thing is gonna come to you.
Yeah,
So the other thing that I take with me on a listing is I have created a sheet of things people need to do to their house prior to selling, prior to listing. Clean it, deep clean it, pack away things, take your personal photos down. People need to be able to see themselves in your home. It's hard to do that when they're looking at your kids who are gonna miss their house, so I have a list of things to like get ready for. And go ahead and start packing. You're moving anyway, so make it as clutter-free as possible. I take that paper with me and I made that up myself.
and there are some out there that I've used like that. Now, one thing that I always share with them, I'm like, if you, and I fall less on the, making people 100% depersonalize their house. But what I do make sure to let them know is if they have their kid's name on the wall, remember, or their kids' pictures on the wall, whatever that is, remember that we're taking pictures and they're out there on the internet. So if there's things that identify them, that you do want to be concerned about that. So Madeline had a great question on here, so then I want to share that with you guys. So she said that her buyers want to find a new home before they list theirs, and how do I handle that? So there are a couple of things there. One is if they have to sell to buy, that means they're not really an A buyer. Right? So, and I do know some agents that do far more than they're not really gonna go out and show people property in that situation. So the thing is, I've done it, and there's the option to do a contingency contract if something that exists out there. It's important to make sure your buyers know that can be risky, and usually you lose some negotiating power if you're doing a contingency contract. So contracts, just as you guys get into this, you've got term, we're negotiating price and terms. We all know what price is, and everybody wants to negotiate price, right? That's what everyone's always worried about. Well, I got that house for only $150,000 or whatever it is. But we don't talk about what terms they gave up to get that price. So if you've got a contingency, that's a big term, which means you have less negotiating power on a price. Whereas you may waive all inspections and appraisals, so now all of a sudden you may be able to get that bought for a better price. It all works together. So I advise them of that, and then one of my best scripts for her really is my personal story. And because and the first house, when I was a real estate agent, my wife and I sold, I would not we did not put a contingency offer in on the house and had to wait till we got a contract on ours. Now, we had found the house we wanted, but we didn't, we then listed our house and hoped and prayed it stayed there. And the real fun part was I took a buyer to that the day before we got an offer on our house. And fortunately, they didn't want it, but it was a tricky situation, so. And then but also I knew we were not going to offer full price. The house had been on the market for 90 days and we were, we need to make an offer. So I don't know if that helps. But ultimately you want to use some of those scripts to let them see that, maybe best to get their house on the market And if there's nothing out there like they want, that is where it becomes a challenge. So figuring some of that out. What kind of ahas do you guys have over the seller?
Well, I would have never thought to ask what would happen if it didn't sell.
Yeah, that's a question, yeah.
That is, I mean, I don't know why I wouldn't have asked that, but
There is a question on there that I don't ask usually. And I almost wasn't gonna share it with you guys what I don't ask. Huh?
I'm laughing.
Yeah, but I don't ask if they have a list price in mind.
Right?
yeah, I don't ask that either.
Um,
Sometimes they tell you anyway.
yes, I go back and forth and I like the idea. I mean, I'm gonna tell you why it's there and then one, if you know it up front and you go, I just want to advise you on it is I guess really where I'm coming from. I love it. And I think if you know that going into the listing appointment, and now if your value is less than what they wanted, you're prepared to handle that objection.
Mhm.
And that's why you want to know that question, okay? Now, the reason I don't is the fear that you can get, not the fear is the wrong word. I don't know why I used fear. I can be given a price on a house and then I may try and prove that price range if I know what they want.
Right.
And that can look very different than what I really think the house should be on the market, both positively and negatively. So get that information, but try not to use that number when you're doing your CMA. That's my cautionary.
Right.
I noticed one thing that's not on here is length of listing period.
Is that
Which
usually on
you'll get
here?
into that when you have the listing appointment and you're signing the listing agreement.
This is just the basics.
I don't ask them how long they want to list it.
On the
When
front
you're in
end.
the appointment and you ask, that comes up, what's the norm around here for listing periods?
I don't know what the norm is around here. I know I typically do about 6 months. Depending on the situation, if it's a listing that may be there for a while, I sign some for a year. I know Jim will say he used to do all of his listings for a year. But so it just kind of depends. But I do 6 months, typically 6-ish
Wasn't it
months.
somebody where were we yesterday? A couple days ago, maybe it was coaching? I don't remember where we were. Somebody's like, okay, if they're gonna insist on listing at the higher price that they want, then I'm like, and I'm quoting somebody, then I'm like, sure, well, if that's what you insist on, that's what we're gonna do, but by golly, we're gonna keep this listing agreement for 18 months then.
Yeah, that's another part of it. Again, you're negotiating what that is. So now if you're listing a property and you're like, man, there's nothing like it on the market. It's in the prime, if you had a $200,000 house in Kickapoo School Districts, you may, okay, we'll list that we'll do a 3-month listing on that. Or it could,
So in actuality, when your experience, is there a lot of discussion over listing periods?
I have not had any discussions over listing periods. I have had very little discussion over commissions when it comes to listings. Those are just things that are what they, like my listing, once I've gotten to the listing agreement, I had very few questions. So, but that's good, it's something to certainly prepare for.
I can see maybe if someone they've listed and it expired,
Yep,
so they were locked in for a period of time
right,
and they're getting ready to relist with somebody else, that might be a concern.
yeah. That is true.
But you've sold all yours, so you don't have that problem.
I've had some expire, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I've had some expire and I've had some we extended, you know, went ahead and extended them as they expire. I've had a lot that we extended just at the end of the listing.
I
period.
just spent this week going through all the expireds in Polk County and sending cards to them all. So, some of them were like LLC businesses, but you could look them up and I found, you know, addresses and stuff and I'm like, and some of them, there was like 2 or 3 houses that expired and I'm just like, if you're still interested in selling, I'd like to share my marketing plan with you.
Yep,
So, you know,
that makes sense.
So when you, okay, so we did the questionnaire over the phone. And have you run into a situation where you weren't able to close to a appointment? In other words, somewhere along the process, the process broke down, something came up.
The only one I can remember is one where we got to talk about price early.
Okay.
And then I never did get an appointment.
Interesting.
Outside of that, I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't
okay,
remember any.
well, that would make sense.
Yeah, yeah, once I was at that point, I don't know of any that I didn't get the appointment, so. So at this point, we've talked about we've uncovered the A, B, and C sellers. And when you uncover those again that are not ready, willing, and able to, or able, ready, and willing to sell right now, that's just a future transaction. And again, this is when we want to use our touch plans and we'll cover more about working with your top sellers and win with sellers or win the seller. Your call to action for this session is to categorize your buyers and sellers in your database and set them on touch plans to stay top of mind. So overall, what ahas do you have? Oh. Yes, Jeff.
Are you there? Yeah. Okay. I was just going to remind everybody that, you know, the myth buster of when you're a new agent and you think maybe you don't have as much to offer as someone that's well established. I just, to break that myth and give you confidence, remember the statistic that we went over either yesterday or the day before, that 83%, and I think it's pretty close to the same, buyer and seller will only talk to one agent.
Right.
So if you're, you know, if you go in there with the most information, doing the best that you can do, and even get advice from other agents to prepare for your either listing consultation or your buyer's consultation, there's a very good chance that you'll be the only one they talk to and you'll get the listing or you'll get the buyers. So you don't have to worry that you don't measure up with someone else that you know is in the business, because they didn't call them, they called you.
Absolutely. That's very good. And that's a good way to look at the limiting belief. So we're not letting that hang over us. If they're choosing to have a conversation with us, they may not be talking to any other real estate agent. So that's good. Any other ahas from today? So this concludes our segment on lead follow-up, where we've covered the importance of following up with people in your database forever. So you remain top of mind. We've covered lead conversion, which is the path to the appointment, and signed agreement. We learned about strengthening relationships through touch plans that continually nurture them. And finally, we talked about how to qualify and categorize potential clients for now and future business. So in your, in the participant guide, so we have, let's see what it says. And then you've got the participant guide. Let's see what
This, yeah.
okay, yeah, so these are that's what I was sitting there. Let's see what, because it doesn't show me what it looks like.
This is the same these are the same every time, at the end of every day.
End of
So
every
this
day.
is the,
Gotcha, so really just to utilize, so these 4: follow-up, convert, stay top of mind, and qualify buyers and sellers. Just go through on the things that you will take action on, that activity of lead follow-up. And remembering that it's about taking one step better today. So you may not be perfect on lead follow-up tomorrow, but what can you do to take one step? You know, so if you end up one step further tomorrow than you were today, you know, where are you gonna be? And if you take another step the next day and another step, you will end up being that much further along when it comes to lead follow-up. And one of the examples I love, and I am not what do they call the people who use compasses to find places? You know, what do they call that?
navigator?
Maybe
What?
navigating, something tiering.
Oh, orienteering.
Yeah, so anyway, so if I were to sit here, and I don't know exactly where it would be, but if I were to sit here and put my focus on something, on say going to Reed Springs, okay? I'm headed there, but I set my thing 1 degree off. And I start taking one step here and then a step, and then all of a sudden, I'm not very far off here.
But when you get
But
down.
when I get to Reed Spring, I may end up in Crane, yeah.
Right, yeah.
So we want to remember that we stay focused on what the goal is and where we want to be, and taking one step towards that is what the purpose is. Keeping our focus on the one thing, with lead follow-up in each one of these things, and knowing that if you just focus on getting 1 degree better, 1% better, 1 step further along each day, in a year's time, you're gonna be a different person than you were. Just very similar to like when I was talking to my wife today, she saw small gains or improvements. I guess she didn't want gains, but those gains week after week is really where naturally you want to be, and you would be, you know, you're gonna, you know, knock mountains down. It was at a pound, think about it, at 1.5 pounds a week, if you're losing weight. That doesn't seem like much week to week. That doesn't a lot, but you talk about in 30 weeks, you've now lost, you know, 45 pounds. So anyways, not to compare it all back to that. So ahas to achievement, just recording what, each day, just recording how you think, feel, and act, and implementing that going forward. And recording that so that you can utilize it. I love going back through old training materials. I've got training binders on my shelf just for, from real estate specific, and even some of them from other training things that I've gone. And the power and the growth from where I was to where I am is amazing. So I just encourage you to do that. So for the, we've hit a good time. It's right at 2. So,
Two.
yeah, finally, last day I hit the time schedule. Now's the part where you take these things and put them into action. So, we've got time to do, role play, preparing your call list, making your calls and updating your database, and utilizing this time to dive in and really work on your business and your database will help you and prepare you. The script practice and role play, that's where the rubber meets the road. You know, if you're not ready to make some of the calls, spending more time practicing those conversations is what's gonna get you to that next level. I saw a meme or whatever, I don't know, meme reel, I don't know what it was, but it said spending 18 minutes a day practicing whatever it is, you will spend it 100 hours over the course of the year, and you'll be 95% better than anyone else.
Interesting.
Or the top 95th percent, something like that. Anyways, I was like, wow. And that was talking about, I think it was a basketball deal. It's probably sports related, but it applies to our business. It applies to us as humans, you know, and everything that we do. So, carving off that 18 minutes of practice, will make an impact. So,
How do you do that? Talk to
um,
yourself in the mirror?
so it's getting with another agent and having, you know, your accountability partner can be a good one that you've got in the program. It could be an agent through the coaching program. It could be another, you know, I mean, just using that to, you know, sharpen each other. And just depends a little on the situation that you're in, so.
I'll be honest with you, when it comes to stuff like this, there are some things that I really want to get right before I do them. And there are others where it's a challenge to just kind of jump in and try.
Yep.
And so this whole role play thing, I'm like, I'd rather just jump into the conversation.
And I think that's works too.
Okay.
There's you know, you're practicing on your potential clients. But
Right.
if you're being natural and being who you are, you can relate well. Maybe you're not as effective in those instances, but I believe you're still planting the right seeds.
I used to go to conferences and speak.
Mhm.
And then I had my booth with my table and people who had heard what I was saying, you know. So then obviously you're practicing the speech, right, or the
Yeah.
session ahead of time,
Yeah,
and you give it. But then when they come to the booth, they have all sorts of different questions.
yeah.
Over time, you learn that there are common questions
Mhm.
and you learn the best way to answer them.
Yes.
But it's something that you can only learn by doing.
Yeah, that's true.
So
That
that's
is-
kind of the way I feel about this.
Yep, I agree with you.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Well,